Networking sites are hotbeds for terrorism. Meanwhile, from March 1st, 2014 to June 22nd, 2015, 56 defendants have been charged in U.S. federal court with supporting ISIS. 80 defendants were recruited via social media. That's according to researchers at Fordham's Law School Center of National Security. I want to bring in Joe Grano. He's former UBS PaineWebber chairman and current chairman and CEO of Route 9B Technologies, a leading provider of cybersecurity. Joe, it's wonderful to have you on the program.
Good to see you again.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about this and why terrorists have become so savvy as it relates to technology and these social media sites. First off, how pervasive is it?
Oh, very. I mean, particularly with ISIS, they're very adept at what they're doing in social media. You have to understand that the laws of our country in particular treat the internet as if it's free speech. So they can deal with it with anonymity, and it's very difficult to find attribution for what they're doing. But they're very adept at it, and I think we need to put policies in place. And one of the things I'd like to see us do is that if you are getting brainwashed by that medium and you want to go over there and train or support, go ahead, but you're never coming back to this country.
But do we have the capabilities to actually get in front of this? Yesterday I heard a really troubling fact, and this was from Michael McCaul, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee for the House, and he said now ISIS has their own encryption app.
Well, any app that can be encrypted, number one, and number two, it can be broken. I think the big Achilles heel we have as a nation is that all of our systems professionals, whether they went to MIT or not, were trained in creating a network, writing code, and creating a process to transact transactions. They were never trained in cyber. We need to train our systems professionals. Think of China with a 30-story building filled with highly trained people. It's really person to person that we have to look at this. And that's the problem. All the firewalls that you see at JP Morgan Chase, at Home Depot, at Target, they didn't work.
Shouldn't that be part of the modern day special forces where the U.S., again, the U.S. military, this is one of our core fighting teams?
Keith, great analogy. They are today the Green Berets and we're National Guard. Our Green Berets come out of NSA, pretty much, okay? And fortunately, the company I'm running now is peppered with them. We have probably the best amalgamation of talent, but all trained and developed with state-sponsored war. They against the United States and we against them. So that's what we need to do. We need to bring that now to the commercial sector, to the public sector, and train them.
How are they acquiring the skills to be this good on social media? And I mean, when you look at these members of the terror group and their ability to cross-communicate on all of these social media networks, where are they gathering these skills?
Well, I don't.
You don't need skills.
I was going to say, you look at Silicon Valley, some kid in a garage is coming up with the most greatest and best app. I think this is a phenomena that's more associated with the new media and the new world, and I think that it crosses borders, and I think it's very easy to get the expertise that you're suggesting that they have.
Numerous apps available that offer encryption.
If that's the case, then why is it so hard to combat them? Why is it so hard to track them down and stop them?
Part of the problem is that we are restricted, particularly our government, in how we gather that information. It's called threat intelligence, and that threat intelligence needs to be shared from the government to the private sector.
Should these social media sites be more forthcoming?
I think that they can become a little bit more overseers. They can do better oversight than they're doing on these issues. Look, the debate that we're all talking about is the sacrifice of liberty for security.
Right.
The real debate should be, how do we secure liberty?
Great point.
Joe,
wow, that is a great point.
Joe, and it's not so much the social media sites where communication is kind of in a more public forum. It's easier to monitor it. It's certainly from the company's perspective. It is the encrypted apps that people are communicating with, that the technology companies that develop them don't really even have access to that information. Like Apple, if you have a pin on your phone, Apple, if you found the phone, they can't get into your information. I just want to point out, Jim Comey said yesterday that the attacker who opened fire in Garland, Texas, in that anti-Prophet Muhammad event in Texas, he had more than 100 electronic messages with an overseas terrorist before it happened. Wow. And investigators could not find out what the shooter was talking about because the messages weren't encrypted. Wow.
And also, you don't have a trained operator interpreting the message. You know, they could use the word wedding, meaning attack.
Right.
And you need to have that. It's called latent indexing, but you need to do that to find it. The real answer is we need more trained people mano a mano to go up against them, whether it be social media or whether it be cybersecurity. And I believe cyber is the single biggest threat in this nation. If you want to take the United States down, you're not going to do it boots on the ground. You're going to do it with taking the energy grid down or disrupting the financial services industry by just taking DTC down.
It feels like they are figuring this out, certainly with social media, Joe.
And I think that you're going to find that we're going to respond in kind. I really
Well, it's the history of this great country. We have to fight for our liberty, too, and this is how you have to fight.
Keith, it's another good point. We have to go to active adversarial pursuit. All of our firewalls today are passive. We don't interact until the blood's on the floor. And that's what happened to the biggest corporations, despite spending hundreds of millions of dollars.
We react. Joe, great to have your insights. Thanks so much. Joe Grano with us this morning. The world's largest